Rachelle Atalla. I am a short story writer, a screenwriter and a novelist. Oh, how did I get into writing? Well, I didn't plan on being a writer. I went to study pharmacy at university, and after qualifying and working as a pharmacist, realised that I needed some form of creative outlet. I'd always kind of gone through life just being fine and okay at things. But I think to write, to start to put kind of emotions down on the page, just made me think, oh wow, this is what it's like to really enjoy what you do. I nearly didn't apply for a New Writers Award, but it was a friend who had kind of taught me, and he asked me what was I going to do with my writing, what was I thinking, and kind of encouraged me to apply. At that point I was very focused on short stories, and I submitted, not thinking that I was going to win, and then I got a phone call a few months later. I was at work in a pharmacy, and that I thought it was a joke. I was like, no, there's no way, there's no way. Winning a New Writers Award just gave me the confidence that I needed to continue. I think it was a validation. And then obviously the programme was just so well structured. I got a mentor. That was really invaluable to me as I was kind of moving from short stories into novels. The Scottish Book Trust New Writers Awards are capturing writers at a really important stage in their career. They're new, they're just emerging, and they do sometimes need people to say, keep going, like this, what you're doing is valued and is worthwhile. And I think it'd be really heartbreaking if something like that didn't exist.
Good evening, Edinburgh, and welcome to the 2025 Scottish Book Trust New Writers Awards Showcase. Want to hear you? Yeah, great. Thank you. I was just watching Rachelle in the audience there going like this the entire time that video was on, and it's great to have her here in person this year after seeing it last year. My name's Shane Strachan, and I'm the host for this evening. I've come all the way from Aberdeen, the distant northern lands of Aberdeen today. And as I was on the train coming down, I had the pleasure of reading the sampler that you should hopefully have all grabbed a copy of, and just felt like I knew all the people you're going to hear tonight just from their work alone. I can honestly say it's definitely one of the best years, best cohorts for the New Writers Awards. Thank God, because I'm hosting it, and Dave, it was rubbish. So just to see, like Rachelle, she was saying she got her award in 2015, and to see now she's on her fourth novel, she's writing screenplays, radio plays, and so on. It just shows you the amazing power of the kind of validation and the kind of push that this award gives folks. So supporting authors to realise their potential is really important to Scottish Book Trusts. And in these challenging times of funding, the awards wouldn't happen without vital financial support from several funders, as you can imagine. So Scottish Book Trust would like to acknowledge and give thanks to Creative Scotland, the Gaelic Books Council, the Russell Trust, the Dr. David Summers Trust, the Gaelic Charitable Trust, the Badenoch Trust, and the William Grant Foundation for their support. So we get a round of applause for our funders. So that's a massive list of funders, but it's still not quite enough to secure the future of the award. So Scottish Book Trust is a national charity, and alongside working with partners, funders, and sponsors, they rely on the generosity of individual donors to make their programmes across Scotland a reality. So if you'd like to find out more about donating to the Trust, please scan the QR code on the fundraising leaflet included in your event programme tonight. So each year, the Scottish Book Trust works with some of the most exciting new writing talent in Scotland through the New Writers Awards programme. The writers are chosen from hundreds of entries, and the 2024 judges included Okecheko Nzelu, Kathleen Jamie, Zavar Kunal, Liz Niven, Vivian French, Maisie Chan, Leila Josephine, Hannah Lavray, and me. I got to do it, and it was great. And I'm just amazed at how much the persons come on. I'll reveal who it was later on. You could probably guess for the fact I speak Scots. And also the Scottish Book Trust work in partnership with the Gaelic Books Council to provide 2 additional places on the programme for writers working in Gaelic, who you'll also hear from tonight. Awardees receive tailored support from Scottish Book Trust Writing Communities team, including a bursary, a week-long writing retreat at Monyack Moor, mentoring from a writer or industry professional, as well as dedicated training in press and PR, social media, and as you'll see tonight, performance. Previous awardees have been published by the likes of Simon & Schuster, Harville Secker, Bloomsbury, Hachette, and HarperCollins. Many have achieved wonderful acclaim including the Costa First Book Award, the Manchester Fiction Prize, the Salter Society First Book of the Year and Poetry Book of the Year Awards, the Arthur C. Clarke Award, a shortlisting and longlisting for the Man Booker Prize, and much more. Scottish Book Trust continue to support awardees with advice, guidance and promotional platforms throughout their careers. So can you just get a round of applause for Scottish Book Trust and everything they've been doing? Yeah. So the event format tonight is that we're going to have two halves with a 20-minute break in the middle, so you can go back to the bar at that point and so on. And you'll see in the bar that there's book stalls for the wonderful Lighthouse Bookshop and Gaelic Books Council selling a selection of alumni titles. And you can win a bundle of alumni titles by buying a raffle ticket at one of the stalls nearby there. So please go and do that, and we'll be picking a winner at the end of the event. Also, copies of the New Writing Sampler are available, so if you didn't get one on your way in, please grab one at the break as well. So I think it's time to get started. What do you think? Yeah. So first up, we have Taslin Pollock, who is one of the Children's and Young Adult awardees. That means she writes for children and young adults. She's not a child or a young adult, so just so you're aware. So Taslin is a British-born South Asian writer of middle-grade fiction living in central Scotland. Her stories celebrate her culture and heritage with heart and humour. Her short stories have been published in Peaks of Colour's Nature Writing Journal and in Adventure, published for Book Week Scotland 2023. She was shortlisted for the Golden Egg Award and the Searchlight Best Novel Opening Award, and was also longlisted for the SI Leeds Literary Prize. And she's currently working on her debut novel and is represented by Abbey Fellows at the DHH Literacy Agency. So if you can give a hand for Taslin.
When home is not a place. Anxious clouds block the sunlight as I grip my comics tighter and look up slowly, taking it all in. I know that if I ask my big brother Adil what a home is, he'll say it's a place where somebody lives. But it's so much more than that. I can't quite put my finger on what exactly, but I know that the red brick building I'm staring at isn't it. It's not just because the ground floor has a shop where the living room should be, or that someone has stuck a sign which reads Belfield Newsagents across the front, or that the front door doesn't need a key to open it during the day, or that a bell rings every time someone walks through it, which at the moment, it's doing a lot. Our new place isn't technically a house. It's a flat above a shop in the village of Belfield, in the middle of Scotland. It's an 8-hour drive from our old house in London, but it might as well be on the other side of the world. The worst thing is that no one even asked me if I wanted to leave my friends or leave the city. I only found out Ma and Bappa were looking to buy a shop a few months ago, and that was by accident. Ma was running late for dropping us off at school, as usual, and she asked me to find a pen in the glove box for a school form she'd forgotten to sign, also usual. Well, in the glove box, amongst all the empty crisp packets and petrol receipts, I found the sales brochure for the shop. "What's this?" I asked Ma, waving the A4 glossy card around. "Stop that, Sarah. I'm driving. Put it back," Ma warned. "Tell me," I insist. I hear her sigh. "We were trying to find the right moment to speak to you. Bappa's tired of working in the factory. He's always wanted to own his own business, be his own boss. This shop in Scotland has had lots of interest from other people. That's why we had to put the offer in so quickly. It was a total bargain. Otherwise, we'd never have afforded the deposit," Ma had admitted, keeping her eyes on the road. "What does Bappa know about running a shop? Wait, you've already bought it. What about Anisha and Priya? I've never even visited Scotland." I wasn't exactly screeching. Okay, maybe just a little. "We'll all learn together. How hard can it be, huh? A new country is always a new adventure, Sarah. And Anisha and Priya will still be your friends, no matter how far you move." "Did you find the pen?" Ma had asked, changing the subject. "The for sale sign went up on our house the next day. The hardest bit was telling my best friends I was leaving. Over the next 3 months, I had to pack 11 years' worth of possessions into empty nappy boxes Bapa had picked up from the factory so we could exchange our small semi for an even smaller flat above a shop. I didn't pack everything into them. My arms tighten around my Asteroid Alias superhero comics. The first issue is in mint condition, which makes it irreplaceable, unlike houses.
I was laughing out loud on the train at the conversation that follows that piece, so I really recommend you read the rest of it. So next up, we have Sarah Whiteside, who is one of the fiction and narrative nonfiction awardees. So Sarah writes fiction and creative nonfiction. Her essay, Thin Slices, won the 2024 Anne Brown Essay Prize. Her work has appeared in Ambit, The Letters Page, Brittle Star, New Writing Scotland, and Gutter. She has an MLit in creative writing from the University of St Andrews, and in 2022 was awarded an Open Fund grant from Creative Scotland to write her novel, Auditorium. A late discovered autistic person and parent to autistic child, as well as a long-time meditator, Sarah is working on a collection called Forgetting the Self, which explores neurodivergence, identity, and non-duality in daily life. So give a hand for Sarah.
Thin Slices. I'm at the kitchen counter again. Distant traffic passes. My son is at the table, eyes on a screen. A too familiar soundtrack fills the room. It sometimes feels like this will never end. Him there, me here, the same tinny music on a loop. He calls me over to show me what he's built. It's a fortress designed to keep the zombies out. I stand beside him, my hand on the back of his chair. The screen is a blur of colour and light. I blink. It's about the 700th one he's made. My attention slides off towards the window where the world waits in its blaze, trees melting into sky. Reaching up, he takes me by the chin and turns my head back to the screen. But I can't see what he sees. 1980. It's playgrounds that scare me most. The wide, cold, open space and figuring out how to cross it. Bells ring. Patterned concrete passes under running feet, lines blurring. I watch the other girls. I learn to look like them. Survival depends on staying in the middle, staying invisible. The best place to hide a pencil is in a pencil case. 1988. It's double maths. I'm in the back row with the others, laughing when they laugh, swinging on 2 legs of a regulation plastic chair. Sweat pools at the backs of my knees and under my arms. The room is loud with heat, close with stifled talk. Itchy jumper, itchy skirt. I live a life constricted. 27 minutes left. I'm waiting for the bell, even though it doesn't mark the end, only a different room for more of the same. I'm counting the days and weeks, the years until it's over. That's the only sum I'm doing. 1997. I never speak in class. Silence marks me out. The other students share their thoughts with ease. The room swims with ideas, too fast to catch. It's not that I don't have thoughts myself. I can almost taste them, their music and their grit, but they don't make it past my lips.
That was great. Thank you, Sarah. Next up is John Lawrie, who's a spoken word awardee. So John is a writer and spoken word artist from here. He initially studied psychology at university, but quickly found that poetry and spoken word were a much more enjoyable way to explore the wrinkly bits of a brain. With a primary focus on identity, relationships, and mental health, he delights in finding the humour and horror in the everyday world we all stumble through. John has performed across Scotland, regularly featuring with Loud Poets and Push the Boat Out. And he's currently working on an audiovisual project that entwines music and spoken word to explore the tricky landscape of mental health and the importance of trying to love ourselves. Give it up for John.
So this is a truncated version of one of my pieces. But the good news is the whole thing's in the book. You should read it, it's great. This is Hope is a Muscle. It's so easy to be made distraught by this world, to be stretched beyond sense, to be squished to taffy by tectonic plate tension. It can leave you feeling like an empty night bus driver. Plenty of room for ghosts, no laughter on the upper deck, especially November through March, if your head lies by the North Sea. That salt spray stripping, ripping joy from neuron root can make you a little too aware that we're a cosmic accident in a universe with no inherent meaning. But if nothing matters, you get to decide that everything matters. That's the problem, though. You have to decide. Straining, stretching, squatting, lifting, it's tough. Giving in is harder. See, we walk around sloshing with panic and with worry, and we all forget what vivid machines we are. Your body is a beautiful biomechanical glory. It is a flesh mech suit firing electricity into a calcium carbon skeleton to push meat around. All that from a lump of jelly behind your forehead that you keep your anxiety and knock-knock jokes in. Isn't that magical? Well, I decide it isn't, and I'm holding the mic, so it is. You can tell me otherwise if you want. You're all as much a part of this illusion as I am. Because that's the thing. We're born to hope, to run as fast as we can towards life, just on the off chance that something cool's going on. Everyone with poetry in their soul feels like this, and everyone has poetry in their soul. Even if those words can never be shown, even if they don't travel beyond your own nose, I say, great, fantastic. Don't you see how important that you find yourselves? You are your own most treasured audience. We need to grab storm clouds by the face and kiss their cheeks. Never forget that all we have is ourselves. We are all made up of each other. I hope that the bits of me that make it into you glitter in sunlight, make you laugh despite yourself. I hope it glows half as brightly as the hope I get from you. Because you're a revolution, simply from the fact that you're standing on this spinning earth. So spin, spin, you beautiful, glorious, freewheeling, screaming Catherine wheel of a dancer. The world wants to soak us in misery, like you're the sponge bits of a tiramisu. I am here to tell you that you are not the sponge bits of a tiramisu. You are the entire tiramisu. And you have all looked delicious tonight. Thank you.
First time for everything, so hello, fellow tiramisus. Hope you're enjoying. Next up we have Shuan Carden, and she is a poetry awardee. So Shuan grew up in County Down and moved from Belfast to Shetland in 2016. Her poems can be found in The Interpreter's House, Glasgow Review of Books, Magma, The Tangerine, Northwards Now, and The New Shetlander. Work appears in anthologies Allmarks, Radical Poetry from Shetland, and The Middle of a Sentence. Her first pamphlet tract was published by the Well Review in 2023. She's a lead reader with Open Book and works as a lecturer at UHI Shetland. And she's working towards a full poetry collection. So let's hear it now. Take it away.
My first poem is called after the time zone that they use kind of arbitrarily on the International Space Station. So it's called Coordinated Universal Time. A woman freezes on her son's computer screen in an American living room. He's 10. He watched her leave the planet on top of a controlled explosion. She chose to do this. It looks like maybe we must choose to do this. Float, haloed by each individual hair, trying to duet over satellite link, silver flutes trilling up and down. There will be no real-time comms on the way to Mars, like going to sea not long ago. Hard to think of when adrift in snacks and sofa cushions intertwined. NASA likes its travellers to have families, so they have a reason to come back. The boy playing grade 2 flute is an anchor. The boy playing grade 2 flute is part of the mission. NASA sends a staffer to video a birth for a father who'll watch later from the space station. AM to PM, his every move beams live to an open plan office. Sometimes a worker turns a camera to the wall. Where I'm from in Ireland, you hear the phrase "this weather" all the time to mean these days, at the moment. Very like the Irish language phrase, and I'm sure Shaw. And where I live now in Shetland, even the gentlest weather, like mist, comes at you fast. So this poem's called "This Weather." First it takes the crisp, cut paper hills, the light box sky, then the fence, the road, all the neighbours. It presses blank white to the windows. Opening the stove to stir the fire, she finds it swirling there, and she can't say she's been herself this weather.
That was ace, thank you, Shuan. And there's a wee poem in the sampler that's after Norman McCaig, who's one of my favourite poets, so I just kind of could really feel him through your work as well, so fabulous. So I unfortunately cannot speak Gaelic, and I really wish I could, especially on Gaelic, Speak a Gaelic Phrase Day. So thankfully, we have Rosemary Ward, who's the Director of Programme at Scottish Book Trust, who's going to introduce the first of our 2 Gaelic New Writers Awardees. So Rosemary.
Fisgur má Carden agus fáilte a bhulach an leinthe háiríte seo taispanug na scríbhar núra. Hang hóprach go gétar ús leorichin na halappe agus corna leorichin haris imitach bliana le cútramach son scríbhar an Gaelic úra a lorach, a bhrosnachu agus a chútechu, úne chosc a lesachu agus a cruachu lítrachas úr tlachfur. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our New Writers Showcase. Now, I have the privilege of introducing our Gaelic writers who participated in our fantastic writers programme over the course of the last year. And the strong collaboration between Scottish Book Trust and the Gaelic Books Council over many years has been invaluable in identifying, encouraging and supporting new Gaelic writers to develop their craft and create new and enjoyable Gaelic literature. The Gaelic language has survived because of its rich oral transmission and strong cultural heritage. Our oral tradition has carried Gaelic songs, poems and stories from generation to generation. The development and publication of contemporary Gaelic literature has been supported by the Gaelic Books Council for almost 60 years now, and the Gaelic literary ecology is all the richer for our exposure to the works of writers like Ian MacGowan, Sorlia MacGillain, Nis Dúmach Nechgal, Nis Patrick Campbell, Meg Bateman, Katharine Alexi Campbell, and our current Scotland's Macher, Patrick McGee, to name just a small proportion of our Gaelic writers. In the years to come, I very much look forward to our new Gaelic writers achieving huge satisfaction and great success with their works, and I'm sure their names will be added to the illustrious list of tradition bearers I've just mentioned. So, I'm seeing Mark in front of me saying, Rosemary, get on with it. You're only here to introduce, not to give us a lecture. So, without further ado, I take great pleasure in introducing our first Gaelic writer of the evening, Christina Nicholson. Rúcag agus hócag Christina le ceol is cúltar na Gaelic man gúr seora, dúlchas a hahas cútrmachí stia teolach. In J. Bliana a fudach an Australia, far in de chéimnichi an de lichtrachas beurle agus eolas komen vo Olhai Adelaide, híli a ashe galappe gus an bugisas an de suhul na Gaelic a diist. Le cool eolas chicas ha Christina anischte goper an company a vis a cruach o gleorichen san skolchen, agus dort taich do hitcheren agus scholaren is an a skillen lichtrachi Gaelic achge elisachig. Ha Christina an draast a gopa der cruniach de skialach yn clynnu steigtje het oran Gaelic traditionte. Hij kutjach geskriefig novel da chanenach son diogeren. Het tok al het kusperen leeg imetach agus ingaal agus a kut karakteren krumach ag ktiene skialach geneigge. Christina grew up immersed in Gaelic music and culture, a heritage that remains a significant part of her family life. After spending a decade in Australia, where she earned degrees in English literature and sociology from the University of Adelaide, she returned to Scotland to reconnect with her Gaelic roots. With a background in teaching, Christina now works for a company that creates books for schools and supports teachers and pupils to develop their Gaelic literacy skills. Christina is currently working on a collection of children's stories inspired by traditional Gaelic songs, as well as a teen novel in both Gaelic and English, which promotes diversity, inclusion, and the normalisation of characters with disabilities. Please give a really warm welcome to Christina.
In Tushak Fikirach. Steegte Rishnoran Traditionche in Tushak Fikirach. Ure Vashet. Va Ushak Fikirach, Aunton Benam Mulzi. Guri hi an een jet beker boonslie gari na monig, kolerie jolach. Een la hager rut oavesoch. Geri sterm lager, agus fuchte en jettemach gumian een monig moor gui. Misra une ek een tred glozet, lik schoenach slikach scholte, sues gun en net. Agus chure greem le fioclan moore berach. Gra is grache en net. Van een huisje kunnen tochtel, agus ge jater valaf, golue se buringheif. Gael mulzi geulach vat. Huichten dorche des golue, agus huk mulzi suur, men koorster son aatje katel. Lorok I ruch gan monje, agus knappi I heen sues an een bale tjaun. Huichti na katel. Hillig agus hionta I vat na heige. Vai rolluch, agus vaine skiahen oor eiche farroching vuur. Galvie mach son aatje ure lorok, var een katjelegie en eich. In slie, hageri die luchak fik glas, gu le gu me. Hou kajat ski, hoorsten luchak, katjen de katjelu reiseri. Katjel mi reir, ruch gan monje. Is ova mochato choski, hoorsten nushak fik, jerak rish en luchak. Is de luimse wie kateli baarn en drish. Stoch ik een fiachus en een nog. Rikker en luchak, agus huk ne boeing as. Shishun reini, lorak en nushak fik jerak, drie shatte, skei sues groepje stjach, een breide slachtige, agus huchti na gatel. Hillig agus hionta I vat na eiche, ach va een drish ro virach. chosi hi, sias gan yn trai. Coiad ymach siali yn bria, nu'r y chwr I sŵl limiter mare. Ysron ymach as y fwyr gyslwyddoch. Fai caran dŵd a chosi hi brian rimylsi. Ha y coiad choski hwrs yn limiter mare, cachan ta cachel y reir sy'n ni. Cachel mi reir eiter fiag bata sofa mo chato choski, hwrs yn ysag figurag rys yn limiter mare. Ystal ym sy fi cadl barn yn dris. Stoch ag yn fiach y sy'n yn noch, rigar yn limiter mare ag ysnaf i'r falloch. Ac yn tyr ysio, Katherine I sy'n. Chai I cwr tymichal na trad. Sues na crigan, gys yn dyreg I bilion na criga. Hy I sias ag ys hosi hi yr anig. Ham je geir I fi colar I mychiolach yr iest. Hwrs I ri a hyn. Chai unje beg siachad, si y sygur le a hyn. Fyr y chwol I yn fiar y glwysad ri a hydd. Hosi fflyman le big yn byga y tier y mach as yn iar. Chai naw, chwri y chiawn y stiach gan iar. Sfa y chiolach dachi I janaf yn misg na dwliagan. Rwy istiach, chnachbi I hein suas an y bal y chawn ag ys hwysti na cadl gwysef. Mor yn taith.
Thank you, Christina. It was great to read that in the sampler that you take inspiration from Gaelic song for your stories, because I do the same with Scots, so it's great to see how important the song culture is to Gaelic and Scots still in relation to our literature. So, for this first half, the final person on stage is Katherine Hudson, who is a fiction and narrative non-fiction awardee. So Katherine is an Edinburgh-based writer originally from Newcastle upon Tyne. She writes literary fiction which explores ideas of art, place, community, and our relationships with the past. Her first novel, Installations, was longlisted for the Dyslexia 2023 novel competition. Her writing has received praise for the way it wrestles with the practicalities of art and life, the obstacles artists must negotiate and overcome in order to make and sustain an artistic career. She's currently working on her second novel, and I think we're going to hear a bit of that tonight. So, come on up. Thanks, Katherine.
I'm going to read an extract from the opening of my novel Installations. Beth, the sculptor, has just arrived in Berlin in an effort to rescue her career. The TV tower has been following me. It peers into my hotel window, looms round corners, surprises me outside U-Bahn stations. But now when I look to it for some kind of reassurance, it's absconded, as if its surveillance is only for its benefit and not for mine. I stop in a doorway out of the rain and check the email, in case the words might have rearranged themselves into something different since last time I looked. But no, the invitation's still there. Part of me wants to turn round, go back to my hotel, forget about all this. I don't know if it's the hope or the fear that drives me forward. This part of Berlin has escaped the destruction of both the bombing and the rebuilding. The gallery appears as I turn the corner, its name running across the top of the glass front in a clean white font. I see myself reflected in the window, wet hair plastered to my head, and I look defeated already. At the back of the gallery, a woman sits at a desk, partially visible behind a pile of catalogues. On top of the pile's a small sculpture that I shipped over before I came. It's one of a series I made, inspired by the high flats where Hannah used to live. I spent a lot of time there, running art workshops with kids in the community centre. I folded the towering 12 stories into 1-foot blocks of metal and toughened glass, engraved with images and ideas suggested by people I met there. Hannah's neighbours came to the exhibition.
Some of them were politely baffled, but others liked the idea of it, that their block was now art. "Can I touch it?" Alison asked. I nodded. "I like how it feels." The wee man said you put something he picked on one of them, but he wouldn't tell me what. I'd asked Alison's son Jamie what I should put on the final piece. Something about what it was like living there, a picture or some words. He considered it carefully, the way an 8-year-old does when asked for their opinion. Finally he spoke. "All I can think is that the lifts smell of piss, but you can't put that." "Why not?" He looked delighted and horrified. "You can't put words like piss on art." "Lots of artists do worse," I assured him. "My mum would kill me." "How about I write it somewhere no one will see? That way only you and me will ever know it's there." Jamie thought about it and nodded. "But you mustn't tell my mum." I showed it to him when it was finished, the words engraved in the metal, but unreadable behind a piece of distorted glass. "If some rich people buy it, they'll have the word piss in their house and they'll never know," Jamie said. The idea made us both laugh.
There's some wonderful descriptions of artworks being made and just beautiful ekphrastic details that follows that. So I do recommend reading the rest of that piece. And I'm excited to read the full novel someday. So can we get another round of applause for all of our first half performers? Yeah. They've been fantastic. So we've got much more coming up after the interval. We're going to have a 20-minute break. Please visit the bookstalls. I've put in handwriting with an exclamation mark, "Buy a raffle," as I was reminded to say. And there's obviously the bar. Please come back by 8:45, please. No, not 8:45. That's 30 minutes. Sorry, I can't count. 8:35. Please come back by 8:35. Yeah, this is why I'm a writer, not a mathematician. So we'll see you then. Thank you. Word showcase! It's quite a lot to try and fit in a big, quick burst of excitement. We're just going to dive right into the second half and get our first writer up. And I can't wait for you to hear this piece because I absolutely loved reading it earlier. So, first up is Les Hodge, who is a fiction and narrative non-fiction awardee. Les is an Edinburgh-based writer and previously was a musician and part of the writing and production team behind Coco and the Bean. He co-wrote and co-produced all the Edinburgh Acts tunes, released first on Baghdad Radio Records and later on Beggar's Banquet. Les also produced for York-based hip-hop outfit New Flesh, wrote for Leeds vocalist Gwen Estey's neo-soul project Harmonised, and wrote and performed as part of the Mystic Man spoken word project Alien Paradise. He is currently working on his first novel, There's a Dog at the Door, which is set in a psychiatric hospital. So give it up for Les.
Last night I was in a pub. Not at the bar as it happens, in the bog, topless. In my boxers, busy gulping at the cold water and splashing it about my face and neck. There's two shady wee bammers in the mirror just finishing up at the urinals behind me. One of them turns to check me out. He's still zipping up. You finished shouting or what, you weird wee fuck, he goes. But that's as far as the chat went. The big bouncer from outside's arrived, no questions, just smacks me hard in the face and drags and boots me up the stair and out onto the pavement. I'm lying there in the cold concrete. Can't see a thing through the blood, but can hear Ruto. He's high-pitched and frantic sounding next to me. Davy, where's your shirt? He's going. Ruto helps me to my feet, but can hear the two wee bammers from down the stair and they're closing in, shouting, poking their fingers about my face. Fuck you all about you, wee Raj, one of them's going. Ruto has his hand out, telling him to leave it. But there's a loud crack and he staggers back the way, takes me with him. Meanwhile, there's a flashing blue light just arrived. Enough for the two wee shites to do a runner and disappear into the night. I'm shaking with the cold, that and nerves. Ruto's got his jacket round me, a hanky for the blood in my face, and he's talking to one of the police. The other police is with the bouncer, and the bouncer's pointing in my direction. This isn't going to be my first time getting a lift to the hospital. Last time there was a silence as we drove. It'll be the same this time round. I get in the car without a word, the two police in the front, and Ruto in the back with me. We're all four of us nervous. Every chance it could kick off any moment. Shouting, kicking, punching. But as it happens, I'm way too busy staring up at the sky for any of that. Too busy staring up at the moon, the tears rolling down my face, and no idea why the fuck any of this is happening. 10 minutes later, we've arrived. The two police are having a word at reception. I'm busy pacing back and forward, up and down, over the waiting room's blue plastic carpet. Ruto's keeping an eye on me. So's the receptionist from behind a thick security glass. When a nurse finally appears, the two police leave. So does Ruto. I follow the nurse into a wee room where a specky wee doctor takes me through the basics. Name, address, date of birth. When she's done with the questions, she confirms I'm getting a bed for the night. And I follow the nurse up the stair onto the ward. That was about midnight on a Saturday. And my second stint in Strathmore Psychiatric Hospital was the way to begin. Thanks very much.
I should probably be a bit worried that the start of that story reminds me of a few nights out I've had in Aberdeen, but enough about me. Next up is Pip Osmond-Williams, who's one of the poetry awardees. So Pip is a writer and researcher from the Peak District, now living in Perth. Her poems have been published in the London Magazine, Gutter, Channel, Northwards Now, New Writing Scotland, Poetry Scotland, and much more. Her debut pamphlet of Algae and Grief won the Brian Dempsey Memorial Prize in 2021 and was selected as the Poetry Book Society's Spring Pamphlet Choice in 2022. Pip is the Assistant Director of the Association for Scottish Literature, Communications Assistant for the Edwin Morgan Trust, and co-editor of William Souter, The Collected Works. So Dickon fan, she finds time to write poetry, but this is amazing. And she's currently working on a seasonal sequence of poems. So give a hand for Pip.
I'm going to read 2 poems this evening. The first is called After Feather. If we're nothing but the company we keep, I must be the jackdaw who sits away from the songbirds in the late afternoon, chacking black-winged on the roof, his one good eye shearing like a swallow, the other so milky blue you'd think it's sky, if not for the way it lingers, long on the ragwort and the worm-brown earth, where summer rain gathers in pools beneath the iron gate. No one's alone, and not me, with the jackdaw, who's built a nest of his own in the flue of my house, to burrow quiet when the sunlight glows too opulent. Like the sand martins in their wetland chambers, or my father, who, too, made a home in crevices and spent his days steeped in brackish water. Not to cleanse, you understand, but to sink more easily into the darker ground. The second poem that I'm going to read is called Beeld. Following nights lacking in sleep and faith, how sweet it is to wake and hear your voice like a summer bird, leading me, singing, through the dark rooms of the house. Oh, and then to find you there in the kitchen, darling, in your crumpled shirt, with your patient hands. We learn to look for love in strange places, but I know it best beside you, quiet in the pale light before the afternoon. I've heard the years will take us by surprise, that one morning we'll wake with crooked knees. But today, the warm weather is holding, and you're at the door with the keys, saying, tell me what we need. I'll bring it back first.
That was gorgeous, thank you. Okay, next up we have Amos O'Connor, and he was awarded a Children's and Young Adult Fiction Award. So Amos is a Portland, Oregon-born writer and visual artist who works as a bookseller in Edinburgh. His writing tends to circle the queer and canny, almost always with a touch of the absurd. In 2022, he completed an MFA in creative writing from the University of St Andrews, and his short fiction and poetry have been published in Lady Churchill's Rosebud Wristlet, which I really had to watch how I said that earlier, Gutter, Painted Bride Quarterly, Copper Nickel, and elsewhere. He is currently working on his debut novel for young adults, which we'll hear a bit from now, so give it up.
I'll be reading a short extract from a young adult novel called The House Heart. Soon Noah found himself in a part of the school that was unfamiliar to him in the dark. Outside an ordinary-looking door, he stopped. He stood there, staring at it. Something was inside that room. The knowing unnerved him. It was as if he stood outside himself, helplessly watching the progress of a dream he'd dreamt many times before. He bit the inside of his cheek and tried to shake the feeling away. The air seemed to whisper and whisper. What am I doing, he thought. What has happened to me? But he'd already reached out a hand. Creaking the door open, he entered the room and glanced warily around. A classroom. Everything silent and still. At its 2 big windows, the curtains hung open, and after the library's windowless dark and the long, unlit corridors, he could see with ease. It smelled oddly of rain, of sudden spring rain, though the day had been dry and cold, and that hum in the air felt thicker than ever. But Noah took in the moon-drenched floor and empty shelves, the solemn rows of desks and chairs, before he saw what was wrong. At the far end of the classroom, something large lay draped across the teacher's desk. It was utterly still, so he approached. He'd crossed the room before he understood what he was looking at. When he did, he froze. It was the body of a kind of spirit he didn't recognize, something human-sized, long-haunched, vividly pale against the blackboard. From where he stood rooted, its remaining limbs looked like a deer's or a dog's. Eyes round and bright and empty as a pigeon's stared out of its tattered face. He couldn't make himself move or look away. The spirit's throat and jaw were torn out entirely, and lengths of strange slim bone gleamed in the black wounds of its legs. It was half devoured and abandoned, as if whatever had attacked it had eaten its fill. At its thigh, its shoulder, the remains of its face, ran dark gouged stripes that could only have been made by some brutal creature's claws, or by very long, sharp nails. One of those empty eyes flicked towards him. "There you are," its stare seemed to say.
That's left me wanting more. I don't know about you, but definitely need to read more of that story. I think there's plenty of it in the sampler as well. I'm going to invite Rosemary back up to introduce our second Gaelic writer.
Sianech Tchekisc an Roshanir a Hamnian agus be echtri dulchus cruchide agus munchanaskire door spionaga an a vi cruachus gialach in Gudage. Ans na pikken vlionach na galaf ha ian het groen goos in de woonige ik heb wat nasente son skialach in Gudage is artikel in Njoiksnach. Agus an so goarpisch film G is on scriptig in drama. We gaan Gudage ga checken een skialach in Gudage Soelen eilsche an de Jiddisch Southlight agus hoe dat does wo streepen terug alappe son tjoendag beurle gen skialach Gudage uner. Ha ian je nusje kopen het krunjegoedje skialach in Gudage binnen skialach en ik getrieg het tokal het amelen ekenjach aan de bijnen karakteren. Een geil etertuinje agus aatje agus krie wichkendunje. Ian is a Gaelic teacher in Wester Ross, and the history, culture, landscape and people of the area provide a rich source of inspiration for him in his short stories. In the last few years, Ian has won several prizes at the Royal National Mod for short stories and non-fiction articles, and also in the Film G competition for script writing. One of his short stories, Soelen, was recently published with an English translation in the magazine Southlight, and he was awarded a prize by Mountaineering Scotland for a translation of the short story Uner. Ian is currently working on a collection of Gaelic short stories, and his stories are often centred around moments of crisis and probe the connection between people and place and human nature. Now, unfortunately, Ian can't be with us tonight. He's a hard-working Gaelic teacher and was unable to take the time off to join us. But we do have a video of him giving his reading, so give a big warm welcome to Ian's video.
Shuan Carden. I'm once natuurlijk naar mijn koolrijf en ook. My name is Ian, and I'm going to read a section from Uner, a short story set in the Torridon Mountains on a glorious New Year's Day. The weather has turned, however, and the main character finds himself in a race for the glen against a ferocious blizzard and nightfall. Charn me itter kreken kasse. Vien faske lochkar vi kercher nish. Chaunde mi me chaun gum a life glee. Haroon loch vi eichken ach va rutigen in me huwelijk lachig. Va kumig na laie ik bounden krikken nach ro bulloch glas. Gav me keim na bashk. Jarak agus goram. Kret na heke na chinas a boik. Chlisk me. Charom in a muner itcher. Chad de huk me in toshach, jay bevrag am a chassan, a vi mar gymig roch rishant nach. A nurshan, hanik es chacharam. Nen Jane hike, nen gavin groch dish, yemin jelike grish na lorikin. Hanik a hiet hoor la veder shachat, e kursich en kiet uasklag hukum. Tosh en kunnert guhteen, mis jeju saas an en yekin. Chait meer fall af. Havi gu garo dat kjaar, gus en tikig shina garo, agus gus en kudigi fes son koor. Ach om graag, van meer een klie a gag meek shina a chachnig. Vigit gam hirig een 2 jaar gin fijn. Chavarig dunje vatte aan zijn chija show. Nen Jane hun de boike wie dag lossig en shin, mis chike gewatin. Geun de meer fall af van gummig. Jemen wie kiolach, kruai. Jemen China agus een cheveke goed het hoschacher njach nach banjego, agus ek nach ro, ach dag is feun. Wa minchen, agus ma chrie a nisha taring gelater een hun raaf. Agus chavig versekesen, gym fachge mi, ach gyn de len mi oram shachet. Gyn de len mi oram shachet? Baun anjef gedire va vig mo smuintjen, a chile gynna jun sich me nam valach. A hanik en skeelach hukum, maar hayet ritaragich. En jisha chunik, a chayet falaf, agus a len ore een turisachke. En koikrach a stad, agus a chay nulhike, gechut heen aan een 400. Agus a nurshan, a vulje is kruie. Halle usse, agus Jan san undoi. Gun me mo chulen gechaun. Skeenchach gire koch huchtje me savaun, geromi de wijn. Geromi een 2 jaar je. Geromi mo chaun a hundig.
I feel like it's really rock and roll to read from your polytunnel. I don't know why. It's kind of punk, so absolutely love it. You can read an English translation of Ian's story in the sampler, and it's just really tense and gripping, and I can see why it won the Mountaineering Scotland Award. Finally, in our second half, our last performer, I'm really excited to introduce you to Ross Crawford because I was on the judging panel for Scots the year he was chosen. And it's just amazing to read his kind of work and see how it's evolved under the mentorship of Alan Bissett across the last year. So I'm just really chuffed, and I'm chuffed that he's going to share that with you tonight. So Ross got the award for Scots fiction and is a scriver for East Ayrshire, who abides now in Stirling. He's got a PhD in Scottish history for the University of Glasgow, scriven mostly in Scots. He's upsteered by the history, nature and folklore of Scotland, especially the rural landscapes of Ayrshire, the Trossachs and the West Highlands. His short stories have been first set by Amos Sour Plume Press, The Word, Product, The Milk House and Lemon Peel Press, among others. His poetry is featured in speculative books, Lalins, Dreich and Razor Cuts. And he's currently working on his debut novel, a coming-of-age story written in Ayrshire Scots. So, give a hand for Ross.
This is an extract from my coming-of-age novel entitled The Big Hoose, written in Ayrshire Scots and set in a small village called Netherhill during the summer of the year 2000. Bang, bang, bang. That's the back door gone. It'll be for me. Lewis isn't certain it actually is, but it usually is. And anyway, who else will it be for? Nobody's ever visiting his parents. Lewis opens the door to see Ali, say excited he's no even got off his bike. right fit jiddering on the pedal, already turned 180 to face the road, ready to set off. Coming out, I've found something. Aye? What is it? Is it good? What is it? Tell me, eh? Lewis hits him with a wheen of questions, all the while pooing on his sambas, stuffing the laces inside rather than tying them. You'll just have to find it for yourself. Follow me, good sir. Ali wheels his horn above a head of curls, green army shirt billowing. He looks like a general on horseback. Hold up, man. Geez a minute while I get my trainies on. Mum, Dad, I'm away out with Ali. Back for tea. Is that a muffled, OK, coming for the kitchen? No time to make share. Lewis slams the back door, bolts down the path past the rabbit hutch, and digs his bike out the hut, while Ali waits up on the pavement, clearly desperate to get gone. Roughly where we head it, at least tell me that, pleads Lewis, pedalling up to him. Down by the kirk, that's all I'm saying. Jesus, what a mystery. They cycle up the hill toward the village centre in Netherhill, cutting across the mini roundabout and gliding down Main Street, Nigel's newsagents on one side and the primary school on the other. As they pass the high flats squeezed between two cottages, the boys gawk up at oily black mercs streaking down beige pebble dash like blood for a headwind. Nobody kens who bides in they flats these days. Maybe they're empty after that druggy woman threw her baby under the wheels of a passing car. Lewis never kent if that was true or no, but that's what folk say. A couple minutes later, and they're in the outskirts of the village. Golden hay bales glint behind the old kirk. The tang of slurry fills their nostrils. It's a rotten reek, aye, but a good one, I know. Tells you it's the summer. The countryside stretches out wheel beyond the main street in its schemes. Fields, forests, hills, mills, bings, burns, burrachs, bogs, yards, crags and quarries. Some of his fellow Netherhillians are aye moaning there's fuck all today other than fitba or fichting. Do they no understand there's so much to see, to explore? Have they never heard they're gone on a bloody adventure? Ali gets it. That's why they're pals. Maybe even best pals. But you can't ever risk saying something like, here, Ali, you're my best pal, by the way. Because no matter what, it would be some riddy. And there's some things you just didn't say. Thank you.
Can we get another round of applause for our Act 2 readers? Thank you. And I'm just going to quickly say that the Scots Language Publication Grant, funded by the Scottish Government and administered by Scottish Book Trust, is currently open for applications. So if you want to find out more and apply, please do. I did, and I got my book publication out of it, and it was amazing. So go for it. Go for it. I'm now going to invite Lindsay Rogers, the Writing Communities Manager, to come and say a few thank yous for us.
Hello, everyone. As Shane mentioned earlier, the New Writers Awards couldn't happen without all the support we receive from our funders. So we would like to take a moment to say another huge thank you to Creative Scotland and the Gaelic Books Council. We'd also like to say thank you again to the Russell Trust, the Dr. David Summers Trust, the Garrick Charitable Trust, the Badenoch Trust, and the William Grant Foundation for their crucial support. We also have fantastic partners who help us deliver a brilliant programme. So Gaelic Books Council, again, their valuable partnership. Moniac Moore for hosting our Writers' Retreat. Society of Authors for membership and training opportunities, and our expert judging panels for making a very difficult decision. As you can imagine, an event like tonight is a huge collaborative effort, So I would like to say thank you to the Traverse Theatre for hosting us and providing fantastic support. My wonderful Scottish Book Trust colleagues for helping everything run so smoothly. Yeah, thank you. Sandy for running our live stream. Yes, Sandy, come on. Lighthouse Bookshop and Gaelic Books Council again for running our bookstalls. And there's still time to add to your book collection. You have my permission. Go buy books. Shane for being such a wonderful host. And finally, I'd like to thank you, our lovely audience, for coming along and joining us both in person and online, and for supporting the writers. So you can find out more about the wonderful writers who featured tonight on our website, scottishbooktrust.com. But please join me in giving the 2024 awardees a huge round of applause for tonight.
We'll also just get a quick round of applause for Lindsay for all the work that they've done. Yeah, thank you to our writers. Thank you to all of you for coming. It's a sold-out audience. It's been great to have you with us here. And we're now going to pick the raffle winner. So one of you might have had a really great night tonight. Oh, I get to do it. It's exciting. Okay. Get your ticket suit. Oh.
Just the one.
Yeah, just the one. Okay, 570. 570 pink. I think it's pink. Thank God somebody hid it. I was like, oh no. Please come and collect your prize after we finish up. Come find Meg down the front. A reminder, sorry you didn't win to the rest of you, but you can buy the books. For the stall till 9:30 and the bar is open until 11 o'clock. So come and join us for a drink. So thank you very much, Abdi, and thanks again to our wonderful writers.